Do you get it? I'm Viserys. House of the Dragon Season 3 comes out in June, and the first season came out 4 years ago, so we both don't remember what happened. Lucky for you, I am rewatching it, so you don't have to. You're welcome. This video is recapping episodes 7 and 8 of Season 1. Go check out my other videos recapping the first 6 episodes if you haven't seen them, and if you have, let's get into Episode 7. Episode 7 is called Driftmark, and it takes place immediately after the events of Episode 6, so no time jumps, no new Targaryen babies to worry about, thank God. All of our major players have gathered on Driftmark for Rhaenyra's funeral. Daemon Velaryon, brother of Corlys Velaryon and Rhaenyra's uncle, is delivering her eulogy in High Valyrian before her casket is dropped into the sea, which is the traditional burial for House Velaryon. While he is delivering the eulogy, he is glaring daggers at Rhaenyra and her sons while talking about the importance of the purity of Valyrian blood. Remember how I said Vaemond was a hater to his core? Despite Daemon being sad, Vaemond's dig at Rhaenyra during the eulogy does get a chuckle from Daemon, because, come on, your niece is dead. There are bigger problems than your probably illegitimate nephews. After, while everyone is giving condolences and mingling, Rhaenyra finds Jace to tell him to comfort his cousins Baela and Rhaena, but Jace tells her that he has as much of a right to be sad, and they should be at Harrenhal mourning Sir Harwin. Rhaenyra is like, dude, shut up. You are going to blow our cover. The Valyrians are our family. The Strongs are not. Are we clear? We see a ton of little vignettes at this funeral after party. It makes up like the first 30% of the episode, so I will describe all of the important ones for you now. Corlys pulls Luke aside and tells him that one day he will be Lord of Driftmark because his older brother is heir to the throne, and Luke says he doesn't ever want that to happen because if he is the Lord of Driftmark, that means everyone is dead. Aegon complains to Aemond that he doesn't want to marry their sister Helena. It seems that betrothal has been officially decided. Aegon goes and chases down a servant to get drunk and flirt with her. Alicent and Sir Criston are staring daggers at Rhaenyra, and Viserys is definitely noticing the tension. Aemond walks up to Jace looking like he wants to say something, but both of these boys have been raised to distrust each other, so they both say nothing. Jace walks over to Baela and holds her hand to comfort her before Rhaenys approaches to comfort her granddaughters and glare at Jace. It's not his fault that Harwin Strong is his dad. Corlys sees Laenor standing in the ocean's shallows at the bottom of the cliff, just completely falling apart, so he walks up to Carl with a cue and tells him to retrieve his patron. Kind of making a scene because, shouldn't his wife be the one to go and comfort him? Even Vaemond is like, dude, we are at your daughter's funeral. Please do not talk to your son's lover right this very second. Viserys musters up the courage to approach Daemon, who looks completely adrift, and offers his condolences before telling him that he should return home to King's Landing with his daughters. Daemon says that Pentos is my home, with pure venom in his voice. Viserys tries to tell him that they should put their differences behind them, that they're brothers, and Daemon has a place at court if he needs anything. Daemon says he needs nothing, before walking away down to the beach. Rhaenyra tells her sons to go to bed before following Daemon, and Viserys walks up to Alicent and says, I'm going to bed, Emma, which is going to make her spiral. Otto, who is here and is Hand of the King once more, finds Aegon drunk and passed out and orders him to bed. Later that night, Rhaenys and Corlys are in their chambers arguing. Rhaenys is pissed at Daemon for not bringing Laena home to Westeros to give birth. Corlys tells her she's blaming Daemon for an act of the gods, and Rhaenys fires back that maybe it was an act of the gods punishing her and Corlys for their insatiable pride. Corlys says, sorry, I'm just trying to get our family on the throne after the Great Council stole a crown that belonged to you. Rhaenys says, please, on the day of my daughter's funeral, can you stop pretending for 1 second that you're doing this for me and not your own ambition? Especially when that ambition is costing our children. I want Driftmark to pass to Baela. We can announce it while everyone is here, say that it's to honor Laena's memory. Laenor will be king consort, so it's not like we're passing over him. Corlys doesn't want to do this because it would cast even more suspicion onto Rhaenyra and Laenor's sons, but Rhaenys is like, don't you want Driftmark to pass to someone who is a true Velaryon? It's just us here, and we both know Laenor's sons are not his blood. But Corlys tells her that history doesn't remember blood, it remembers names, before leaving her to her grief. Cut to the beach, Daemon and Rhaenyra are walking the shoreline together, catching up for the first time in a decade. Rhaenyra is worried that Laenor has completely fallen apart. Everyone at court knows their marriage is not a love match, but he's probably going to stop putting in the bare minimum effort to maintain appearances. It's here we learn that Rhaenyra and Laenor did try to conceive children, but it didn't work. There was no love, no joy, so she found that elsewhere. She regrets letting Harwin return to Harrenhal, knowing that it's this cursed place. And Daemon is like, the curse is just a story, one that Otto and Alicent would gladly exploit. But Rhaenyra doesn't believe that Alicent is capable of cold-blooded murder, though Daemon says everyone is capable of depravity. Rhaenyra says, I believe that you specifically are capable of it. And Daemon's like, are you accusing me of something? Spit it out. And she's like, yes, you abandoned me. And she's 100% right. Remember, the last time they saw each other on screen was in the brothel where they made out, and he left her there. Daemon was like, I'm trying to spare you. You were a child. And Rhaenyra's like, yeah, and look at how my life turned out without you. Daemon says, if you think your life turned out bad, you must really pity me for mine then. And Rhaenyra says, I barely know anything about your life because you left me. Did you love Laena? Daemon didn't love her, at least not in that way, but they were happy, and unlike Rhaenyra, he's at least granted permission to mourn the mother of his children. I guess this conversation really gets both of them going, so they decide to suck face about it. They do more, but I'm gonna do another cut to black. Honestly, that's basically what the show does, too. This scene is so poorly lit, I was squinting at my television. I know it's night outside, but it's also a TV show, a visual medium. I want to see what's going on. Whatever. Aemond has decided that it is the perfect time to go dragon shopping. He sneaks down to the beach where Vhagar sleeps and just claims her. The largest, oldest dragon in Westeros, the Game of Thrones version of a nuclear bomb, in the hands of a 10-year-old boy. I choose to believe that Vhagar was so sad about Laenor's death that she just didn't care enough to stop him. That's almost definitely not the case, but I don't like adult Aemond, and I don't like how he treats the grandma dragon, so that is what I have decided to believe. The sequence of the first flight, though, is really cool, very stressful. The first time I watched it, I was certain that we were about to watch him fall and turn into a Targaryen pancake. After his victory flight around Driftmark, he lands and is greeted by Jace, Luke, Baela, and Rhaena. Baela and Rhaena are furious that he stole their mother's dragon. Rhaena says that dragon should have been hers. But Aemond says, well, your mom is dead, and it's my dragon now, so maybe Jace and Luke can find you a pig to ride. It would suit you. Aemond gets a dragon and immediately says, people without dragons are disappointing losers who don't deserve rights, actually. This does not go over well with either of the girls, who both start punching him. After Aemond punches back and says he's gonna feed them to his dragon, Jace and Luke step in, all of them beating the crap out of Aemond, who manages to subdue all of them, grabbing Luke by the throat with one hand and a large rock in the other. He tells Luke that he will die screaming like his father did. When Luke yells that his father is alive, Aemond turns to Jace and says he doesn't know, does he? Lord Strong. Bastards. This infuriates Jace, who pulls out a knife. He misses, though, and drops it and falls, and Aemond lifts that rock, I assume to murder his nephew? I think. Step-nephew? I wholeheartedly believed that he was going to kill his step-nephew Jace. Jace throws sand in his face, and Luke picks up the knife and charges at Aemond, slicing out his eye. I'm actually not sure if the eye comes out, but the result is the same. He loses an eye. Sir Harold finds them clearly disturbed at how violent these kids have become towards each other, and he brings Aemond to the Great Hall to be treated by the maesters, and a crowd is forming. Viserys is furious at the Kingsguard for not protecting his blood, but Sir Criston points out that they're not really expecting princes to be attacking each other. Alicent slaps Aegon for not being there for his brother, and the commotion has everyone gathering. Corlys and Rhaenys, all the children, the Kingsguard, Otto, Daemon, and Rhaenyra, who entered together through the front door, everyone except Sir Laenor. Guys, this is my favorite scene in the entire first season, maybe the entire show. Please get ready. Viserys demands to know what happened, and Alicent and Rhaenyra both say the other's kid is guilty. Luke maimed Aemond's eye. Aemond was the one attacking Luke. Jace tried to kill Aemond. Aemond accused Jace and Luke of being bastards. bastards. Rhaenyra says this vile, false accusation against an heir to the throne is treason, and Aemond must be questioned to learn who spread this slanderous rumor. Alicent is like, my kid lost an eye and that's what you're worried about? But Viserys demands that Aemond tell him. You can tell that Viserys really does not care about any of his children with Alicent, at least not in the way he cares for Rhaenyra and her children, because Aegon, Helaena, and Aemond are just some kids he had with Alicent. But Rhaenyra? That's his daughter. And those are his grandchildren. Alicent is trying to shield her son, saying it was just a schoolyard insult. If only Sir Laenor was here. She says he might have something to say on the matter. But he's not, because he's probably entertaining his squires. Gloves off, Alicent. Oh my god. Criston Cole laughs at that, and Sir Harold is like, anyway, Aemond admits that he heard it from Aegon. Viserys gets close to Aegon's face, and again, this is not sweet dad Viserys. This is King Viserys demanding to know where he heard this rumor. Remember, if he admits that it came from his mother, the queen, this will be bad for Rhaenyra and even worse for Alicent. Aegon stumbles over his words, just saying that we know, father. Everyone knows. Just look at them. Viserys is disgusted. He scolds them, demands that they stop the infighting, reminds them that they are family, and he, their king, demands they reconcile. And with that, he turns away, ready to go back to bed. Alicent is like, are you joking? Sorries are not going to bring back my son's eye. And Viserys is like, girl, what do you want me to do about it? Alicent said there's a debt to be paid. I want one of her son's eyes in return. Viserys tells her to stop, but she is crying, pleading with Viserys to defend their son, his blood. Again, he refuses, telling her not to let her anger cloud her judgment. And that is the final straw for Alicent. Remember, she held her tongue. She had his kids. She gave him 2 sons. She's taking care of his decomposing body all the time while he treated her like And when the time comes for him to defend their children, he can't even do that. She says if the king will not seek justice, the queen will. Sir Criston, bring me the eye of Lucerys Velaryon. He can even pick which one he loses. Sir Criston is like, and Viserys says, no, I forbid it. Alicent is screaming at this point, saying Sir Criston is sworn to her, and that's true, but he's sworn to her as her protector. He's obedient to the king. Viserys says this matter is finished. Alicent, let it go. Everyone here, just know if I hear any of you questioning the parentage of Rhaenyra's children, I'll remove your tongue. Rhaenyra thanks her father, and Alicent comes completely unglued. Viserys is wearing Aegon the Conqueror's dagger at his waist, and Alicent pulls it out and comes at Rhaenyra, who's shielding her children. The 2 women struggle, the children are screaming, no one knows what to do. The knights just form a circle around them, no one daring to move except Daemon, but Sir Criston Cole keeps him from intervening. Rhaenyra is like, girl, you go too far! Alicent's like, I am not the one going too far. I do everything that is expected of me while you do exactly as you please. Viserys is ordering her to let Rhaenyra go, but she ignores him. Rhaenyra took her child's eye, and even that she feels entitled to. Rhaenyra says, God, you must be exhausted carrying that giant chip on your shoulder. Now everybody knows what a crazy you are. When Alicent screams and breaks away, she slices Rhaenyra's forearm, and it's not fatal, but it's not a small wound. Alicent is in shock, dropping the dagger, and all the witnesses are horrified. No one knows what to say now. It's Aemond who finally breaks the silence. He tells Alicent, his mother, not to mourn him, because as far as Aemond is concerned, an eye for a dragon is a fair trade. Now everyone knows the 10-year-old claimed Vhagar. The next morning, Otto visits Alicent, and she's like, just say it. Tell me what I did was inappropriate for a queen. Tell me I disgraced myself, that I guaranteed that Viserys will forever favor Rhaenyra. Otto says, well, yes, all those things are true, but I didn't know you had a backbone, let alone one this impressive. We play an ugly game, and this is the first time I've seen you act like you could win it. You know that Rhaenyra is reckless, she can never be queen. Now go fake apologize to Viserys, he'll forgive you because he has to. Aemond just gave us a huge advantage getting Vhagar. He was right, it was worth his eye. If we work together, we will succeed at getting your son on the Iron Throne. So they are maximizing their joint slay, and when I say slay, I mean destructive scheming. Alicent is all in now. Cut to Sir Laenor entering Rhaenyra's chambers in the morning while the maesters are stitching her up. Laenor is like, dude, I am sorry, I should have been here. Which is true, but he was going through a lot. His sister just died. Rhaenyra tells him what Aemond called their sons, and Laenor blames himself. He really tried with Rhaenyra. He just couldn't. And he does love their sons, but maybe not enough. Rhaenyra's like, I wanted to have your kids. Sir Harwin was not plan A. And Laenor says he regrets the gods making him the way they did. But Rhaenyra doesn't. He's a good man with a good heart. He's treated her well, and they're still friends all these years later. Laenor tells her that even though they've allowed each other to explore happiness elsewhere, he's not going to go with Qarl with a Q when he returns to fighting in the Stepstones. He is committing to the bit with Rhaenyra and promises to stand by her side and take an active role in raising their sons. She deserves a husband and a partner. Meanwhile, the gears in Rhaenyra's head are turning with tumultuous energy. God, we are finally leaving Driftmark, or at least Alicent and Viserys are. Alicent tries to apologize in the carriage on their way to the boat, but he's having a fever spell and is like, just don't bring it up again. So she doesn't really get the chance. Professional avoidant Viserys. On the boat, Larys approaches Alicent to tell her that what happened was tragic, and if it's an eye she seeks, he can get it for her. Alicent says, thank you, no thank you, but your devotion does not go unnoticed. I will hit you up when I need you. God, I hate him. I don't think Alicent even likes him either. She's just using him. Rhaenyra watches Vhagar flying after the ship from the castle, and Daemon joins her. She's in such a fabulous coat here. The costumes are gorgeous. They talk about how fire is a prison, but the sea is an escape. This is very explicit foreshadowing to something that will happen 15 minutes from now. Emma D'Arcy proceeds to deliver this long monologue in High Valyrian, very impressive, saying that she needs her uncle. If they were married, her claim would not be as easy to challenge. Daemon is like, even if I wanted to, we couldn't unless Laenor died. And Rhaenyra's like, yeah, I know. And they do that thing where Rhaenyra explains a plan via voiceover while simultaneously showing the plan in execution. They leave it ambiguous whether she's actually going to kill Laenor, but this sequence isn't that long, so I'm not going to pretend like maybe they're actually going to kill him, because they're not. Basically, her and Daemon are going to give Qarl with a Q and Sir Laenor a whole bunch of gold, have them fake his death, and get on a boat to the far east so they can be together. Sir Laenor and Qarl even stage this argument and a sword fight that ends with Laenor landing in a fireplace so no one notices it's not his body. From Rhaenyra's perspective, this will help her twofold. It will allow her to marry Daemon and make people believe she's capable of great lengths to secure her claim. Only downside is it is going to make Rhaenys and Corlys think she covertly ordered the death of their son. We don't have to worry about that right now, though, because we have a wedding! The episode ends with Rhaenyra and Daemon getting married on Dragonstone, old Valyrian style. Rhaenyra looks beautiful. Baela and Rhaena are there, so now the cousins are also step-siblings, I guess? I don't know. Rhaenyra kisses her uncle-husband. I'm sure they will live happily ever after. Actually, sorry, the episode for real ends with the reveal that Laenor is alive, head shaved, and on a canoe with Sir Qarl with a Q, escaping east. It's not a reveal to you because I told you 10 seconds ago. But anyway, on to episode 8. Episode 8 is called Lord of the Tides, and we're doing another time jump. This time it is 6 years later. 6 years since Laena's funeral, 6 years since Aemond claimed Vhagar and got his eye cut out by Lucerys, and 6 years since Rhaenyra married Daemon after the death of Laenor Velaryon. The episode opens with Rhaenys on Driftmark asking a maester if her husband is going to live. Corlys has spent the last 6 years fighting in the Stepstones, and she has just received word that his life hangs in the balance after a particularly violent ambush that left him severely injured. His ship is sailing back to Driftmark, but he might not be alive when it gets back. So Rhaenys, Baela, and Vaemond are discussing what this means for the seat of Driftmark, because if Corlys dies, the lordship will pass to Lucerys, Corlys' grandson and Rhaenyra's second son. Vaemond does not want that to happen because he knows those kids are illegitimate. But Rhaenys says it's what Corlys wanted. Vaemond says, I do not care, the seat of Driftmark is mine by blood. I want your support, but I don't need it. Rhaenys says, dude, be careful, the king will have your tongue for this. But Vaemond fires back that the king does not sit on the Iron Throne these days. The queen does. And we all know who that queen is and where her loyalties lie. Now we are moving over to Dragonstone, and we get to see a glimpse of Rhaenyra's family life there, Daemon collecting dragon eggs laid by Syrax, Jace practicing High Valyrian, and little Joffrey playing with his nanny. Daemon brings a message to Rhaenyra. It's from Baela, and she's letting Rhaenyra know about Vaemond's plans to petition the queen for the rights to Driftmark, and Rhaenys has also flown to King's Landing for this hearing. Rhaenyra and Daemon aren't sure who Rhaenys is planning to support support because on one hand, she has taken Baela as a ward, but on the other hand, she thinks Rhaenyra had her son Laenor killed so she could marry Daemon. In order to make sure that Luke's claim isn't called into question and in turn Jace and Rhaenyra's respective claims, Rhaenyra has no choice but to take the family back to King's Landing. In King's Landing, things have been better. In Rhaenyra's absence, Alicent and the Greens have replaced a lot of Targaryen sigils and symbols with the Faith of the Seven, pretty much just to be petty. Whatever, Alicent. Rhaenyra and Daemon go visit King Viserys in his chambers, and he looks worse than he ever has. Bedridden, delirious, face bandaged to cover up his decomposition. He doesn't even recognize his daughter at first, but he is so excited to see her and Daemon when he does. She introduces him to her two sons with Daemon, Aegon and Viserys, and then pleads with her father for his support with the whole Driftmark succession issue. Viserys is confused and doesn't even really understand what she's asking, saying that Alicent and Otto handle all court business now. So looks like Viserys is in no state to help his daughter. The small council is meeting to discuss the issue of Driftmark succession. It should be simple because Corlys's intention was for Lucerys to inherit the seat after him, but Tyland remarks that Lucerys is just a boy and has never commanded a fleet of ships. Which Lionel Beesbury, yes, he is still here, says that his experience is irrelevant to his claim. We're nobles. Alicent decides to hear out all of the claims tomorrow before deciding. As Alicent leaves the small council, Sir Eric, a member of the Queen's Guard, not to be confused with Sir Auric, his identical twin brother, approaches. He tells Alicent there has been an incident in Prince Aegon's chambers. They bring the incident in question to Alicent, a young maid named Diana. This scene is very sad. Trigger warning for descriptions of non-consensual activities. Aegon has forced himself upon this maid, and she is beside herself. She knows that confessing this to the queen could mean her being exiled or worse. Alicent hugs her, a genuine hug, and tells her that she believes her and it's not Diana's fault. She also tells her that not everyone will believe Diana's story, so she cannot tell anyone else. This is partially true, so she is sort of looking out for Diana in this moment, but she is mostly running damage control for her monstrous son. Alicent's lady-in-waiting gives Diana a contraceptive tea and some money for her troubles. Oh my god. The whole scene is very dark and a very sad look at the way most women have to move in this world. Alicent goes to Aegon to unleash hell upon him. She is furious. Her son, the one person she's been trying to install on the throne, is a terrible person. He doesn't feel any remorse for what he did. Alicent slaps him, saying that he is no son of hers, and Aegon retorts back that he does everything that she asks, and it's never enough for her or his father Viserys. And this is true, but I don't feel bad for him at all. He can die. Alicent finally goes to see Rhaenyra. Remember the last time they saw each other, Alicent stabbed her in the arm. This conversation is tense. Daemon and Rhaenyra question Alicent on why Viserys is bedbound and being prescribed fantasy opium daily, but Alicent tells her that she hasn't been here. Viserys is in so much pain without it. Alicent reaffirms that she is the one that will be hearing Rhaenyra and Vaemon's petitions tomorrow and exits. Busy woman Alicent bounces right to the next scene. She's immediately in a meeting with Otto and Vaemond, who has arrived in King's Landing. Otto is like, "Do you really want a kid leading the largest fleet in Westeros?" Vaemond tells her in so many words that if she rules in his favor, he will be in her debt. Then we get a scene of Rhaena reuniting with her grandmother Rhaenys before Rhaenyra interrupts and asks to speak to Rhaenys alone. These names are so similar. Rhaenyra has figured out that Rhaenys isn't here to support Lucerys or Vaemon's claim. She is here to argue in her own favor. Rhaenys wants control of Driftmark and to pass it to Baela after her death. Rhaenyra says, "Don't do this to my son, please." And Rhaenys says, "It wouldn't be worse than what you did to mine." Rhaenyra pleads with Rhaenys, saying she loved Laenor and did not order his death. She swears it. If it were me, maybe this would be a good time to tell Rhaenys that her son is not dead at all, just living his best gay life in Essos, but I do understand why Rhaenyra can't say anything. Rhaenyra says, "Listen, if you back Lucerys' claim, I will betroth my sons to your daughters. Baela will be queen of the Seven Kingdoms, wife of Jacaerys, and Rhaena will rule Driftmark with Luke." But Rhaenys sees through this. It's not a generous offer, it's a desperate one. Even if Rhaenys supports her, tomorrow the Hightowers will land their first blow in the fight against Rhaenyra. so Rhaenys has to look out for herself. Y'all, the walls are closing in on Rhaenyra. She is feeling like all hope is lost. In a last-ditch effort, she visits her father in his chambers, and he is semi-lucid. He calls her his only child, which again just hammers home how little of a he gives about the 3 children he has with Alicent. She asks him if he believes in Aegon's dream, the Song of Ice and Fire, because if you do, why would you divide the realm and name me heir? If it's because you truly think the burden is mine to bear, then defend me. Please, defend my children. This is my last chance. She is desperate. She is crying at his bedside, but he doesn't respond, just falls back to sleep. In the morning, while the maesters tend to Viserys, he tells Otto he wants to have dinner with his entire family tonight, all his children and grandchildren and nieces and nephews together. He then refuses the fantasy opium that Otto offers him. He wants to keep his mind clear, but for what? It's finally time to hear the petitions of Vaemond and Lucerys. Everyone is gathered in the throne room to hear each party plead their case. Vaemond is winning. He is implying that Rhaenyra's kids are not true Velaryons. He is playing dirty. He's being a hater to his core. But it's time for Rhaenyra to speak. Unless, wait, who is that? Coming into the throne room, it's Viserys? Guys, this is the only time I'll be excited to see him. The first time I watched this scene, I cried. He is a mess, mask covering half his face, hunched over his cane, barely alive, and he shows up for his daughter. The music swells. Alicent and Otto are like, oh, no, this is not good, because it's not good for them or Vaemond. Viserys hobbles up to the Iron Throne, breathing heavy. He struggles so much that he drops his crown, and who is there to pick it up but Daemon, his brother, who loves him so much. Ride or die. He places the crown on Viserys' head and helps him up the steps to sit on the Iron Throne. The relationship these two brothers have might be my favorite thing about Season 1. They fight, they become estranged, their relationship is so complicated, but when it comes down to it, they would do anything for each other. Now that Viserys is here, the dynamic has completely shifted. He's like, guys, I'm confused. Why are we petitioning over a matter of settled succession? If Corlys's wishes have changed, Princess Rhaenys is surely the only one able to offer any insight. So Rhaenys steps forward. What's she gonna do? She is going to certify that Corlys wished for Driftmark to pass through Sir Laenor to his trueborn son, Lucerys Velaryon. Hell yes! Rhaenys is coming through for Rhaenyra and Team Black. Viserys says cool, so the matter is settled. Again, I hereby reaffirm Lucerys' position as heir to Driftmark. This is too much for Vaemond. He talks back to the king. He says, you broke centuries of tradition to name your daughter as heir, and now you tell me who should inherit the seat of my house? No, I will not allow it. Viserys says, don't forget yourself. You can't allow anything. This is a monarchy, babes. And Vaemond fully crashes out. He points at Lucerys and says that he is no true Velaryon and he is no nephew of mine. You may run your house as you see fit, but not mine. I will not see the Velaryon line ended on account of this bastard. Her children are bastards and she is a whore. Viserys wants his tongue for that, but Daemon just cuts off his head instead. Problem solved. Goodbye, Vaemond. I told you your hateration would be your downfall. The activities of the day are too much for Viserys, who collapses back into his throne. Alicent goes to him, tells him he must do more fantasy opium, but Viserys won't do it. He says he cannot cloud his mind. He has to set things right. And while I appreciate the sentiment, it is unfortunately too late for that. This whole show is just a series of mistakes made by Viserys that become harder and harder to undo. Cut to dinner! Remember Viserys wanted supper with his entire family? Yeah, it's as awkward as you think it's going to be. No one is speaking to each other. Viserys is like, this is such a good day. My grandsons are marrying their cousins. Lucerys is the future Lord of the Tides, and we're all together. He gives one last speech to his family, telling them how sad it makes him that they have grown so distant from each other. He tells them the crown cannot stand strong if the house of the dragon remains divided. If you can't reconcile for the sake of the kingdom, please do it for me. because Lord knows I will not be around for much longer. This speech seems to kind of halfway work because Rhaenyra stands to toast to Alicent for standing by Viserys' side, saying that she has Rhaenyra's gratitude and apology. Alicent says, "Thank you, we're both mothers who love our children, and we have more in common than we sometimes allow. I raise my cup to you, Rhaenyra. You will make a fine queen." Jace toasts to Aegon and Aemond, saying he has fond memories of growing up together and hopes they can be friends and allies as adults. Helaena toasts to Baela and Rhaena, who will be married soon. She says marriage isn't so bad. Remember, she's married to her brother husband Aegon, and mostly he just ignores you, except for when he's drunk. "Get him again, Helaena." The music starts playing, so Jace asks Helaena for a dance, reminding us that it could have been them who got married and things would have worked out so much better. Everyone is smiling, everyone is laughing, and it seems like just for a moment, everything might work out. But then Viserys gets tired and the guards carry him back to his chamber and the facade of family love slowly fades. The moment is extra ruined by Aemond, who decides to toast to his nephews, all handsome, wise, strong boys. Alicent is like, "Dude, shut up." But Aemond says, "What? It's just a compliment. Are you not 3 strong boys?" And a physical fight immediately breaks out between Aemond, Aegon, Jace, and Luke. God, it was good for like 2 minutes. Everyone goes to bed mad. Rhaenyra tells Alicent she plans to take her family back to Dragonstone, but Alicent says, "Girl, you just got here. Don't go." So Rhaenyra says she'll see her children home, and then she will return on Dragonback, which seems to make Alicent genuinely happy. Later that night, Viserys is in his chambers and Alicent visits him. He's delirious and thinks it's Rhaenyra. He says, "You wanted to know if I believe it, the Song of Ice and Fire. Aegon, it's true what he saw in the north, the prince that was promised, the prince to unite the realm. It's you. You are the one. You must do this." Alicent says she understands. No, she does not. And then he dies. Not to spoil the next episode, but Alicent is going to misinterpret these deathbed ramblings to an absolutely catastrophic degree, and all we can do is watch. Guys, the next 2 episodes make up what I would consider to be the finale, and there's going to be so much to cover. This is the climax of the season, and I will hopefully have the next recap out soon. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Sophia Lynch. I have music out under that name and on all streaming platforms, including this YouTube channel. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of these, because I would like to keep making them, and if I get enough views, then for season 2, I will buy a Targaryen wig. Make it happen. I will see you next time!